What's up, guys? We are back for the latest in the Black Series from Hasbro, taking a look at the most recent exclusive. That would, of course, be the GameStop exclusive Jump Trooper or Rocket Trooper, depending on how you know this guy. So he comes in the standard Black Series packaging. You've got him there in the window, artwork down there on the bottom, no number because he's exclusive, and then we've got a bit of a bio as well as that same artwork on the back. So let's do it. Let's pull this guy out and take a look. And here he is out of the packaging, our Jump Trooper, Rocket Trooper, whatever you want to call him. I'm going to go with the Jump Trooper for this review, though. And if you aren't familiar with where this guy comes from, these guys are in Rebels, but being a GameStop exclusive, I assume that the emphasis on this is the fact that he does appear, or these guys do appear in Battlefront or Battlefront 2. They appear in the games. I don't play them, so I'm not really sure where they appear, but they are in the games. So you've got that kind of video game reference there in some fashion. I think at the outset, this is a pretty cool looking trooper. It's different enough while still maintaining a lot of that standard trooper look and feel. So we'll of course compare him to a regular stormtrooper, but he's obviously a little different. So let's run through articulation real quick. I don't think anybody's gonna be too surprised in how this guy moves around. So you've got the old style hinge at the neck, so he goes up and down, and then you've got a little side-to-side bobble rotation. You of course have got the tubes. They don't really matter too much. They do of course hit eventually, but they're long enough and flexible enough that you can get that's a pretty full turn. That's more than any normal person would turn their head really in a big helmet like that, so that's all right. Arms go out. My joints are really stiff. You might have heard that click or pop when I pulled that arm out, and they're just incredibly stiff, more so than I really expect in a Black Series figure. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, you've got a hinge and rotation at the wrist, you've got the upper diaphragm joint here, so side to side, backwards, forward, and rotation. Legs go out. They kick forward a bit. They'll go further if you twist at the thigh. It's just the nature of the Stormtrooper armor. So you kick forward. Back, not much because he hits his butt right away. There is that twist there. You've got your double jointed knees. And then you've got rocker, and you've got hinges down at the ankles. He's still got those kind of weird Stormtrooper detents in the ankle joint, but for the most part, he does stand up really well. And I think he's articulated pretty nicely overall. My only real gripe is that he does have a little bit of a bobble going on. So you can kind of see him, kind of wiggle around back and forth at the midsection there. It's not a huge deal. It's certainly not, destroying this figure by any means, but it's definitely something to keep an eye out for. Of course, I don't know if it's going to be a thing with this figure, but it is a thing on this figure. Of course, a lot of the emphasis for this figure, though, is in the design, in the look, and he is, of course, really similar to a standard Stormtrooper. There's no real way around it. He's a specialized trooper of sorts, so he does have a little bit of kind of a TIE fighter pilot helmet going on, but it's not exactly a TIE pilot helmet. It's similar, but it's different. And then he is very much a Stormtrooper, although he is, of course, slightly different, and we'll do a comparison here shortly, but I do, just in a general sense, absolutely like the way this figure looks. I like the different color left pauldron here that he's got with the Imperial insignia there. Tampo is really nice. I like that kind of mustard yellow orange color that he's got going on, and then you've got another Imperial insignia going on the right. It's a different design, so these two plates are different from normal Stormtroopers. You've just got little differences here and there. For the most part, they're very similar, though mostly in the arms and the chest, and then the crotch and the legs. He's very similar to a Stormtrooper. We do have a little extra added paint down here, though, on the boots. This is not normal, the little silver touch down here on the inside and the outside of the ankles, so that's kind of nice. You do, of course, have the rocket pack, the aforementioned jump pack, depending on what you want to call it. So it's just kind of, a little jet pack on his back, and it attaches to the helmet with the cables. And there is a little paint here and there. Sculpt is nice. There's a, kind of a wash and dry rub in the rocket area to make it look like it's kind of charred and used. So that's kind of nice. It's not just like a brand new look. You can pop this guy off because being built on the normal Stormtrooper buck, it does of course have the port on the back, so they just put it there. I have seen people say that the tubes are removable, and in my experience so far, they are not. If anything, it will come out at the cost of not being able to easily put it back in. So your mileage may vary on that, and if someone knows 100%, let me know, but these tubes do not want to come out at all. If anything, as I tried to pull this one out, it started to look like it was going to break, and I wasn't going to chance it anymore because I have no reason to take that off. So, keep that in mind. If you break yours, you didn't hear it from me to tell you to do it. I've just heard that you can, so I'm not really sure one way or the other, but I don't know that it's intended to do that. Obviously, it's plugged in there, but it looks like it's definitely glued in. Mine are very much seated in place. Speaking of, there is, of course, a nice new different style helmet going on up here, and you can see there is a very Stormtrooper meets TIE Fighter pilot type of look, especially with the tubes that come out, and just the overall curvature of the helmet. The fin that runs down the top of the helmet looks really nice. There's this nice kind of yellow stripe that runs down the top, which of course is accented by the gray stripes on the outside. So it's something very similar to what we've seen in previous figures, something very familiar, but at the same time it's different enough that he will absolutely stand out on the shelf, not just because he has a yellow shoulder, but because everything going on from the neck up is really unique while at the same time blending into a lot of your other figures. Put him next to a regular Stormtrooper and you can see, of course, a lot of those differences, but a lot of those similarities. He does look more different when he's next to a regular trooper, I think. But of course, he is very similar. So the belt's the same, you've got the same legs, you've got the same arms, you've got the same chest, but the pauldrons are different, not just in color, but in size and shape. And then, of course, the helmets are very different. They do look like they go to the same faction. They look like they belong next to each other, but they're obviously just different. So there's a lot of Stormtrooper in this helmet, but there's a lot of TIE Pilot in there as well, and I think they work really nicely together. They very much feel like they go together while being distinct amongst each other. Of course, he wouldn't be complete without a blaster rifle, and he comes with the standard Stormtrooper blaster. This time, however, it's done up in an actual painted color scheme, so we've got a lot of silver dry brushing that goes all over this gun. We've seen the gun, I don't know how many times at this point in this line, but this one is just a little bit more amped up. It does look a little bit nicer from a presentation standpoint. It's the same blaster you've expected to get time and time again with Stormtroopers, just with a little bit more of a sheen on top of it. But beyond that, though, this guy does have something else, something that is very much new in terms of Black Series, something that we really don't see in this line for sure, and that would be the stand that he comes with. So this guy comes with one of these newer stands that we see that has the trench here in the front. So it's a triangle stand, piece of plastic, and you shove a foot inside this trench and it kind of locks him in place. So it's more of a dynamic kind of stand. It's not really a stand in the sense that you would put him in there just to keep him upright. He can stand just fine on his own. This is more of one where, as you can see, I've got him kind of in a running pose right here. Whether or not it's the greatest running pose, you can tell me that in the comments down below. But it does keep him upright pretty well. I just don't know that I'm a big fan of this. It's okay, and I certainly like the idea behind it. I'm not going to knock him for including it, but Black Series doesn't really have any standardization of peg holes in their feet, so figures vary from, wave to wave. So a normal stand with a peg in it isn't going to work for every figure. This is a more universal thing that they could give figures so that you can kind of pose somebody up and have them in a running position where you aren't having to go to a third party to get something. Personally, I would much rather have an arm type of stand, like a Tamashii Nations stand, something like that, especially for this guy. So hoist him in the air and make him look like he's actually flying off. So it's a nice inclusion, and I might use it, but I'm not entirely sure I will. Again, if I'm going to have this guy on a stand, I'm probably just going to throw him in the air on something else and maybe use this for somebody else. So it's always cool to get something like this. I'm just not sure it's the greatest thing ever. I'm not sure I really need this in every figure, especially if it does increase the price of them down the road, because more plastic's always going to cost money eventually. So overall, I'd say this is a pretty solid figure. I would have to say you need at least two of these guys. This guy needs to have a partner, have him flanking another maybe Imperial or Vader or something. Have your little squad of these guys. I do think that the look is there. I like the mishmash between helmet styles to make this guy slightly unique. I like the rocket pack design. I like that colored pauldron, and I just like the way he looks. It's a trooper. you know, no one's going to complain about getting troopers anymore. He has a nicely painted gun, and he does come with the stand. Whether I'm a huge fan of that stand or not is kind of irrelevant. I like the fact that they gave it to us. I just don't think it's the best stand ever. Otherwise, though, this is definitely one to get. I'm going to have at least 2 for sure. Maybe more, probably not. But I think 2 is at least where you need to stay for this one, just because he does look cool, and he's certainly going to look cool with a buddy. So that's going to do it for this look at the Star Wars Black Series GameStop exclusive Jump Trooper figure. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.